Hi there, my name's JT Burk, and I'm a cancer fighter for the last 6 years. And I want to talk to you about some of the experiences and knowledge I've had in going through cancer for such a long time. I don't fit the stereotype. I've got hair, I'm not thin, my complexion is still fairly good, and I've been fortunate with that. But looking good has always been easy for me. It's feeling good that's the real challenge. So it was in 2013, I was first diagnosed with cancer of the rectum, had a tumor down there. It was stage 2 at the time. So I had the tumor removed, and then I had radiation and chemo for 30 days. And lots of things after that in terms of surgeries and procedures I don't want to bore you with. But needless to say, 2013 was quite a challenge, especially financially. I could see how people go bankrupt doing that, because in 2013 there was no Medical Care Act that said you could get good insurance if you have pre-existing situations. So it was a pay-as-you-go. Here's $15,000 so you can do something for me. Oh, here's another $18,000 so you can do something for me. So you start going through funds that you don't intend to go through. And I can really understand the challenge financially for a lot of people going through this. But the emotional side is really what I think cancer fighters and the families and people and friends around them kind of need to understand. It was kind of quite a year in 13. I had my first colonoscopy at 62. Not a good idea. First tip: get a colonoscopy. At least in your late 50s. That could have probably avoided some things for me. But, it's done, it's over. So move on. So they treated my tumor, got everything looked good. I go into the oncologist's office and he writes N-E-D on a piece of paper. And, okay, Ned, what's your name's not Ned, what is this? He says, well, no evidence of disease. I said, great, man, I beat this thing. Woohoo, ring the bell and all that kind of good stuff. Only to find out that it was kind of a false hope that I had beaten the thing. Because in 2 to 3 months later, I had a different oncologist come, and he was much better. And he says, well, you got a spot in the lung that I'm kind of worried about. So they did some biopsies on it, and the rectal cancer had moved now to my lungs. And so now I became stage 4 in 2014. So moving on from that, when I first found out, I was in Iowa. That's my home state, although I grew up more in Wisconsin, but I've been in Houston, Texas since 1980, so more than enough Texan in me. So he called me on the phone, and I remember distinctly the conversation. He says, well, you're stage 4, and that's going to mean that you have a shortened life expectation, which was really upsetting to me because my grandfather lived to be 93. I had a great-grandmother lived to be 96. I had my mother lived to be 91 and a half. I had some longevity. So I thought I'd at least beat my dad because I took care of my health, and he died when he was 78, I guess. So, and he had open heart surgery and all that kind of good stuff. But the second thing, and that was disturbing to hear that. But the second thing that was really worse was, well, how long am I going to be on chemo? And he says, well, the rest of your life. And that was not good because chemo, cancer, you don't feel anything from the cancer. You feel the surgeries and the treatments and everything else that you get from cancer, unless they start cramping your organs, which I'm on a kind of a path that way right now. But it's something that that I didn't like to hear. So we started looking at getting into MD Anderson and getting on clinical trial because he only had a few more tricks in the bag after being on chemo for so long. I've probably been on chemo 4 of the 6 years, probably totally altogether. I remember a conversation, a lunch meal I had with my youngest son, Mason, who was probably 17 at the time, and my youngest daughter, Jenny, and my wife, Louisa. And we were at the 19th hole grill, and that's when I shared with Mason, what was going on. And that was back in 2013, of course. And it was impactful for me because, their thoughts were, okay, we got to march on down to MD Anderson. We got to quit doing everything. We got to go on the internet and Google all this stuff. And I said, wait. That's, you guys want to do that, that's fine. But what I'm searching for is the best doctors I can find to take their advice. And Google can be a dangerous thing because there's so many complaints and there's so many different types of cancers, and none of it's going to really apply to you, and you have to go through the experience. And so I wasn't going to do that. They all marching on down to MD Anderson was not an easy task too, because it took me probably about a year to get in from my previous oncology. And, so I think, it really affects the family, but it, as well as the patient. And it's trying to get that understanding that, hey, this affects them as much as it affects you. And you listen to them, and they're very concerning, and of course they want to come to appointments and things like that. Very good support, and that's what you can hope for. And, being on chemo for so long, you have a choice, right? I could be pissed off at the world, you guys here in the studio, because you don't have cancer, and I do. And why me, And being on chemo for so long, you can choose to not be on chemo and not fight it. And I've known some friends that were in that position, and they're dead now. A lot of my family and friends that I knew got diagnosed after me, and they're all gone. So I'm doing this because I'm compelled to share with others my experience. And so that's a reason I have for being here with you. Getting past that initial news and then processing it and everything else, it does take a while. You have to make changes in your life. You have to do things you don't want to do. I don't want to get chemo, but I do it because I'm choosing to fight. You listen to your body more. I was a type A personality. If I had something to do at my desk, I wanted to get it done, and, bang, 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 go here, go there. I traveled a lot, and there's an adjustment there that you listen to your body. I can never take naps. I listen to my body. I gotta chill out for a while. The work's going to stay there. It's going to be there. If I don't take care of it the next 2 hours or the next 2 days, it's you're going to handle it. You have those kinds of choices to make. First, you can take a positive approach, which I feel is good. You can then also choose to accept the life that you have and get most that you can out of each day. And that was my mantra even before I got cancer, is I wanted to get the most out of each day. So in talking with patients, I hope there are some tips I can give you, in going forward. You have to be your own advocate. So you have to ask questions. You have to make sure you're getting the right tests. You have to make sure you understand what things are going through. I've had some many miracles that have happened to me in the hospital, and I've been in hospitals all over, from Texas to Colorado to California, and a couple weeks in a hospital and on a vacation is not really pleasant. But being your own advocate is understanding what you have, is having a close relationship with your medical team, so that when you're in some other area, you can let them know what's going on. You can even put them in touch with some of your doctors, and so that's a very important thing. And family helps with that quite a bit, and friends. I was leery to share some of this stuff over the time, because I didn't want sympathy from others. I don't want, is there anything I can do and stuff like that. And of course, yes, you can pray for me, and but just be my friend. Be there supporting me. And I've got lots of friends. I'm very fortunate, and I have a great family. I'm very fortunate there. I've known people that don't have that support, which is very difficult. And hats off to them for staying strong through something like this without having some of the support that I've been fortunate to have. So those are kind of the things that you have to go through. You have to be your own advocate. You have to, I think, make the right choices for you. You will reflect more on what you're doing for your life. You reflect more on what you should be doing. I'm still working. I need to from a financial basis, but I enjoy my work. I'm an architect, and I like doing what I do. It's affected my business because some of my clients know that I have a terminal disease, and there's been project interruptions and things like that, but I still go forward trying to be positive, and I've been fortunate going through that process. So some of the other things we want to talk about is what's coming. I hope I've said some things here that in the future we can talk about other topics. This was kind of getting to know me, and I hope to get to know you as well. My email is jtburk@jtburk.com. Burk is a 4-letter word, one of the best I've been called 4-letter words. And so in the future, I want to speak about my rings of life, my circles of life, that I think are important to keep the strength and to move in a positive fashion. Attitude leads to gratitude. So having that attitude, the right attitude going forward, you'll be able to laugh more, you'll be able to enjoy life more. And people are grateful for that too, because you're sharing something that's personal. Inspiration, where does it come from? It comes from a lot of places. It's interesting. Cancer, is it a death sentence or a life sentence? It's a pretty good topic that I want to reach. The top 10 positive things of having cancer. And I know it's kind of, people say, well, how can you have anything good about having cancer? But I've come up with the top 10 things that I think are positive in having cancer and moving forward. Mind control when things are hopeless. Mind control is a very tough thing. It's a tough thing for people that have addictions. It's a tough thing for people with insecurities. It's a tough thing for a whole plethora of folks out there. And so, I want to talk a little bit about that and what you can do with that. And then again, being your own advocate and making the right choices, which I kind of touched on here. So I'm sure there'll be more or less. Hope to keep these kind of brief so I can capture your attention. And I hope I've done that. And so I hope to all of you health and happiness.